The Atlantic Ocean circulation is nearing a devastating tipping point, also known as the Gulf Stream. This single point of failure could change the world as we know it, especially countries in the Northern Hemisphere, like the UK and Ireland. But like I said, Earth is amazing. Welcome back once again to another episode of Focus. Okay, first up, the Atlantic Ocean circulation is nearing a devastating tipping point, a study finds. Collapse in the system of currents that help regulate global climate would be at such speed that adaptation would be impossible. Think the day after tomorrow and you might have an idea of where we're coming from. The circulation of the Atlantic Ocean is heading towards a tipping point that is bad news for the climate system and humanity, a study has found. The scientists behind the research said they were shocked at the forecast speed of collapse once the point is reached, although they said it was not yet possible to predict how soon that would happen. Using computer models and past data, the researchers developed an early warning indicator for breakdown of the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, also known as AMOC, a vast system of ocean currents that is a key component in global climate regulation. They found AMOC is already on track towards an abrupt shift, which has not happened for more than 10,000 years and would have dire implications for large parts of the world. AMOC, which encompasses part of the Gulf Stream and other powerful currents, is a marine conveyor belt that carries heat, carbon, and nutrients from the tropics towards the Arctic Circle, where it cools and sinks into the deep ocean. This churning helps to distribute energy around the Earth and modulates the impact of human-caused global heating. But the system is being eroded by the faster than expected melt-off of Greenland's glaciers and the Arctic ice sheets, which pours fresh water into the sea and obstructs the sinking of saltier, warmer water from the south. AMOC has declined 15% since 1950 and is in its weakest state in more than a millennium, according to previous research. That prompted speculation about an approaching collapse. Until now, there has been no consensus about how severe this will be. One study last year, based on changes in the sea surface temperature, suggested that the tipping point could happen between 2025 and 2095. However, the UK Met Office said large, rapid changes in AMOC were very unlikely in the 21st century. The new paper published in Science Advances has broken new ground by looking for warning signs in the salinity, how salty the water is, levels at the southern extent of the Atlantic Ocean between Cape Town and Buenos Aires. Simulating changes over a period of over 2,000 years on computer models of the global climate, it found a slow decline can lead to sudden collapse over less than 100 years, with calamitous consequences. The paper said the results provided a clear answer about whether such an abrupt shift was possible. This is bad news for the climate system and humanity, as up till now one could think that AMOC tipping was only a theoretical concept, and tipping would disappear as soon as the full climate system, with all its additional feedbacks, was considered. It also mapped some of the consequences of AMOC collapse. Sea levels in the Atlantic would rise by a meter in some regions, inundating many coastal cities. The wet and dry seasons in the Amazon would flip, potentially pushing the already weakened forest past its own tipping point. Temperatures around the world would fluctuate far more erratically. The southern hemisphere would become warmer. Europe would cool dramatically and have less rainfall. While this might sound appealing, compared with the current heating trend, the changes would hit 10 times faster than now, making adaptation almost impossible. What surprised us was the rate at which tipping occurs, said the paper's lead author, René van Westen, of Utrecht University, or Utrecht University. Apologies if I butchered that name. It will be devastating. He said there was not yet enough data to say whether this would occur in the next year or in the coming century. But when it happens, the changes are irreversible on human timescales. In the meantime, the direction of travel is undoubtedly in an alarming direction. We are moving towards it. That is kind of scary. And Van Westen said, we need to take climate change much more seriously. Once again, like I said, Earth is amazing. Thanks for sticking around for another episode, but this was number 1. Stick around for number 2. Take care, have a great day. And if you ain't having one, plenty of time to make it happen. Okay, second up. What will happen to the UK if the Gulf Stream collapses in 2025? Scientists warn Britain would be plunged into a deep freeze, with winter conditions up to 15 degrees colder than usual. It's been 20 years since The Day After Tomorrow hit cinemas, and now scientists have warned that its terrifying plot could soon become a reality. The film portrays an enormous superstorm triggered by the collapse of the Gulf Stream, which sets off catastrophic natural disasters and ushers a new ice age on Earth. In the blockbuster, characters are frozen under layers of snow, drowned in massive tsunamis, and dramatically crushed under vehicles thrown by tornadoes. But what would actually happen here in the UK if the Gulf Stream collapsed? Speaking to the Mail Online, experts revealed how Britain would be plunged into a deep freeze, with winter conditions up to 15 degrees colder than usual. The Gulf Stream is a part of a much wider system of currents, officially called the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, also known as AMOC, which scientists say could collapse as early as 2025. Described as the conveyor belt of the ocean, the AMOC transports warm water near the ocean surface northwards from the tropics up to the northern hemisphere. Here in the UK, its collapse would cause temperatures to plummet, according to Professor David Thornley, a climate scientist at a university college in London. Unfortunately, people would die due to stronger winter storms and flooding, and many old and young would be vulnerable to the very cold winter temperatures, he told the Mail Online. Jonathan Bamber, a professor of Earth observation at the University of Bristol, agreed that if the AMOC were to collapse, the climate of Northwest Europe would be unrecognizable compared to what it is today. It would be several degrees cooler, so that winters would be more typical of Arctic Canada, he told the Mail Online. René van Westen, a climate scientist and oceanographer at Utrecht University, predicts that in the summer, UK temperatures will be about 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit to 9 degrees Fahrenheit, or 3 degrees to 5 degrees Celsius, lower than they are now. AMOC collapse, it would change weather worldwide because it means a shutdown of one of the key climate and ocean forces of the planet. It would plunge northwestern European temperatures by 9 to 27 degrees, 5 to 15 degrees Celsius over the decades. Formerly known as the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation AMOC, it powers the Gulf Stream that brings warm water from the Gulf of Mexico to the northeastern US coast. Meanwhile, winter temperatures could be 18 degrees Fahrenheit to 27 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees lower on average. Although certain parts of Britain would bear the brunt of it, for example, if the yearly average surface temperature over London fell by 12.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Celsius, the temperature would change larger, down to minus 21 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 12 degrees Celsius. Further northwards, such as in Scotland, Van Westen said. However, the effects in the UK would be minor compared to other regions, according to Professor Thornley. Elsewhere around the world, a collapse of the AMOC would cause a shift in the tropical rainfall belt, an area of rainfall that is positioned around the tropics. This would massively disrupt agriculture and water supplies across huge swathes of the globe, said Professor Thornley. Many millions would be affected and suffer from drought, famine, and flooding in countries that are already struggling to deal with these issues. There would be huge numbers of climate refugees and geopolitical tensions would rise. According to the new study, AMOC has recently shown signs of trending towards a crucial tipping point, at which a collapse would soon follow. When exactly this tipping point may occur is uncertain, although it could be a matter of decades rather than centuries as previously assumed. At the moment, we cannot say anything about the distance to an abrupt AMOC collapse, i.e., the day after tomorrow scenario. Van Westen told the Mail Online, "Our analysis only suggests that we are moving towards this tipping point. If the AMOC collapses in the UK, people would die due to stronger winds, storms, flooding, and young people would be vulnerable." And I mentioned that before. Sorry, the article is a bit repetitive. In the day after tomorrow, a collapse in the AMOC takes place over a matter of days, and the fictional weather immediately switches to extreme cold, so the characters are completely unprepared. Thankfully, such a rapid transition will not happen in real life, said Penny Holliday, head of marine physics and ocean circulation at the National Oceanography Center in Southampton. If the AMOC does reach a tipping point, it will happen over several decades at least, she told the Mail Online. However, a slowdown of the AMOC, whether it is a fast-acting or takes place over many decades, will lead to the generation of more extreme and violent weather systems that have the potential to cause deaths and major damage. Is the day after tomorrow an accurate portrayal of the future? Paleoclimate records constructed from Greenland in ice cores have revealed that the AMOC circulation has indeed shut down in the past and caused regional climate change, according to the University of Illinois. It caused the area around Greenland to cool by 44 degrees Fahrenheit. In the 2004 film The Day After Tomorrow, the New York City's temperature dramatically dropped to a point that a deep freeze appeared within a day. Even a second outside and the movie's characters would freeze to death. Scientists say the film plays up the shift, which would take decades to see, but note temperatures would dramatically decrease along the eastern US coast. Winters would become colder and storms more frequent that would linger longer throughout the year if the AMOC would come to a halt today. However, scientists say it isn't the cold temperatures that we should prepare for. It will be the rise in sea levels that will have the largest impact. The increase would be caused by water piling up along the east coast that would have been pushed away by the northward surface flow. But the AMOC weakened, or at a stop, experts say sea levels around the North Atlantic basin could experience a rise of up to nearly 20 inches. This would eventually push people living along the coast from their homes and further inland to escape flooding. A weakened AMOC would also decrease the amount of rainfalls in the northern Atlantic. That would cause intense droughts in the area that rarely experience such events. But like I said, single point of failure. It really shows how amazingly fragile our one and only planet is. But once again, thanks for sticking around for part 2, and take care once again, and thanks for taking a moment to focus. Okay, round 3. Fight. Just kidding. Collapse of the Atlantic Ocean current could turn Ireland's climate into Iceland's. Potential climate changes to the system known as AMOC would transform Ireland's benign climate. Fianna Fáil, Senator warns. Ireland must prepare for the potential collapse in the future of an ocean current system known as the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, also known as AMOC. According to Fianna Fáil, Senator Malcolm Byrne, his call follows publication of a study showing circulation of the Atlantic Ocean is heading towards a tipping point that is bad news for the climate system and humanity. The Gulf Stream, which is part of the current system, ensures Ireland has a relatively benign climate. Speaking in the Synod, Senator Byrne added, "The collapse of AMOC, while it may not be something that happens in our lifetime, would have serious consequences for the future Irish generations. It could result in Ireland's climate changing to become similar to Iceland's, which is something that will have profound implications. As a state, nothing should be off the table in terms of preparation." He said he was encouraged by the government's ongoing work on climate adaptation, preparing for the inevitable impacts from climate disruption. There was engagement with all sectors on sectoral adaptation plans, but we cannot be complacent. This is a really crucial issue for long-term planning for the state. Ireland is hugely exposed should it occur. The scientists behind the research said they were shocked at the forecasted speed of the collapse once the point is reached, though it was not yet possible to predict how soon that would happen. Using computer models and past data, they developed an early warning indicator for breakdown of the AMOC, which is critical to global climate regulation. They found AMOC is already on track towards an abrupt shift, which has not happened for more than 10,000 years, and would have dire implications for large parts of the world. AMOC is a marine conveyor belt carrying heat, carbon, and nutrients from the tropics towards the Arctic Circle, where it cools and sinks into the deep ocean. This churning helps to distribute energy around the Earth and modulates the impact of human-caused global heating. But the system is being eroded by faster than expected melt-off of Greenland's glaciers and ice sheets, which pour fresh water into the sea and obstruct the sinking of saltier, warmer water from the south. It has declined 15% since 1950 and is in its weakest state in more than a millennium, according to previous research. Until now, there has been no consensus about how severe this will be. One study last year, based on changes in sea surface temperatures, suggested the tipping point could happen between 2025 and 2095. However, the UK Met Office said large, rapid changes in AMOC were very unlikely. This century, the recent paper published in Science Advances has broken new ground by looking for warming signs in the salinity levels at the southern extent of the Atlantic Ocean between Cape Town and Buenos Aires. Simulating changes over 2,000 years on computer models of the global climate, it found a slow decline can lead to a sudden collapse over fewer than 100 years. The results provided a clear answer about whether such an abrupt shift was possible. This is bad news for the climate system and humanity, as up till now one could think that AMOC tipping was only a theoretical concept, and the tipping point would disappear as soon as the full climate system, with all its additional feedbacks, were considered. They also mapped consequences of a collapse. Sea levels in the Atlantic would rise by a meter in some regions, inundating many coastal cities. Wet and dry seasons in the Amazon would flip, potentially pushing the already weakened rainforest past its own tipping point. Temperatures around the world would fluctuate far more erratically. The southern hemisphere would become warmer. Europe would cool dramatically and have less rainfall. While this might sound appealing compared with the current heating trend, the changes would hit 10 times faster than now, making adaptation impossible. What surprised us was the rate at which tipping occurs, said Dr. René van Westen, of Utrecht University. It will be devastating. There was not yet enough data to say whether this would occur in the next year or in the coming century. But when it happens, the changes are irreversible on human timescales. We are moving towards collapse. That is kind of scary, Dr. Van Westen said. We need to take climate change much more seriously. And that's from the Irish Times. And that was round 3. Thank you very much for sticking around and having patience with me through these 3 stories. And once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Focus. But we're not done yet. If you still got the time, stick around for the thoughts and facts section. Hey, you might just like it. But in any case, take care, have a great day, and like I said, if it's not happening for you, carpe diem. Seize the day and make it happen. Okay, so thanks for sticking around for this thoughts and facts section. As always, like I said, our history is pretty vast and we're making it pretty fast, so I promise to keep it brief. But in the grand scheme of it all, that's all subjective. So, what's the current temperature in the Indian Ocean? North of 20 degrees south latitude, the minimum surface temperature is 22 degrees or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Exceeding 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit to the east. Southward of 40 degrees south latitude, temperatures drop quickly. The Bay of Bengal contributes more than half, 2,950 kilometers or squared, or 710 CUMI of the runoff water of the Indian Ocean. What's the temperature of the Atlantic Ocean? The surface water temperatures, which vary with latitude, current systems, and season, and reflect the latitudinal distribution of solar energy, range from below -2 degrees Celsius or 28 degrees Fahrenheit to over 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. And the Pacific Ocean. There is a pronounced difference in the temperature and salinity between the surface and the deep zones of the Pacific. The deep zone, which contains about 80% of the ocean's volume, has relatively stable temperatures and salinity patterns. Its average temperature is between 38.3 degrees Fahrenheit or 3.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, so What did they say? If it collapses, it could lower temperatures up to 10 to 15 degrees in Europe and lead to rising sea levels in the eastern US and obviously in the mid-Atlantic and all the rest of the world. It would also disrupt rain patterns that billions rely on for agriculture, and it did specifically mention the Amazon. Now, considering that climate change, rising sea levels, increased storms, all of these things are already affecting us to massive degrees. If this has to take hold, even if they say that the time frame in which it's going to transpire is decades, at the moment we are already struggling to cope with all of these changes, increased flooding, increased rainfall. Yes, if this does happen, it's going to lead to a dramatic shift. But it does not say that the shift means that there will be less of either or. It simply says that there will be a shift. So, as it says for, let's say, Europe, the UK, it might be an enticing idea, the idea of the temperatures rising. They may just be the lucky ones, and the entire northern hemisphere, to a degree, may become a tropical paradise. And the only reason I say this is because two things. One, scientists don't know when this will occur. And two, scientists don't and can't accurately predict how a shift or an entire climate shift could actually change. How the weather patterns, weather flow, and all of this would change. You have to bear in mind, the Gulf Stream is like, imagine hot and cold air. It's simple. Hot air rises and cold air sinks. So when you see this happens, just like in the atmosphere, it creates an air current. So vice versa, it creates a sea current. So if this current stops, what will happen? It means that there will be no more warming. It means that there will be no more cooling. But if you see it decides to shift its flow, where the Amazon or the new Amazon could grow, or where the new Sahara Desert could be, would shift dramatically. I don't think, even with the simulations that they have and all the data that they have, they could accurately project this. But it's a little late. I will say this. If you want even more accurate temperatures as towards apologies, how this has actually shifted, you should check out my episode on the IPC climate change, the IPCC report, International Panel for Climate Change. That episode has me reading the highlights. I do mention how much the temperatures of the current ocean has currently changed between, I think, either 1950 or even further. But once again, just so you know, you can check out that episode so you can find out the actual temperatures. But once again, the reason I say this is because it mentioned that we were close to a dramatic shift in the climate, especially considering that January this year has already gone down as being one of the hottest ever, and so far, even for February, even though we're not even at the end, it too is also up in the rankings for being one of the hottest in years. So we've got to actually take this in mind. And the only reason I mention the fact that, and I know it sounds completely counterproductive or counterintuitive, but it works hand in hand, like I said, hot and cold air. Considering that the problem lies in the fact that global heating has raised the temperatures, and because temperatures have risen, melting ice sheets, fracturing, breaking glaciers, and melting fresh water is being poured into the salt water, into the sea at massive levels. And even now, we still can't accurately predict how much water, or fresh water or cold water, is being poured into the oceans literally every minute as I'm speaking. But the fact that we are already on record for being the hottest year as far as I'm concerned, the fact that 2 months at the beginning of the year are already breaking these records, it means there's going to be even more melting. I also remember mentioning at the beginning of last year that we would see the highest temperatures at the end of the year that we've ever seen so far, and the Antarctic would not look the same. I hate to say that I was right, but it has happened. And if you check out the pictures, and if you live in the region, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm not saying it's up for debate. There's many people who might say this is all myth, this is all lies. It's easy for you to say when, I hate to say it, you probably have never left the comfort of your own home, country, city, or region. Unless you've actually been around the world, unless you live in these places, you don't know how it actually and truly affects people. It's easy for you to say when you live in a big city that this is simply not happening. But for people who live in the Yukon, right now, I remember there was something big going on. There was an entire village was actually jumping for joy through the roof because I think it was Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. But basically he said he was going to be building a river across the Yukon. Their hopes were sadly dashed because apparently it wasn't going to happen yet. I didn't read too much into the story, but the reason that this was even mentioned is for the fact that normally around now the Yukon is frozen solid. So the people living in that one particular village never ever have an issue of being isolated or having a problem to get to the mainland because there's an ice bridge. So they can always literally drive over the ice. It's always readily available. But now, considering that it's so much hotter, temperatures in the Antarctica, in the North Pole, I mean, you don't understand. It's gotten to double digits. That hasn't happened in years. The North Pole is the North Pole for a reason. It's known for ice and snow. Temperatures have never risen above 0. Or maybe slightly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Right now, the last record was at 15 degrees. 15 degrees in the Arctic. If that's not a sign of climate change, rising heat levels, I don't know what is. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's many of you, despite not believing any of this, probably your favorite holiday destinations, you know, those bright sunny beaches, those sandy paradises. I'm pretty sure you've been there a couple of times since your honeymoon 20, 30, 40 years ago. What do the beaches look like now? Do they look the same? How much of them is left? How close is the waterline now to the trees? Can you remember? Because I can. The world has changed dramatically, and it continues to change. And although we try, not many of us are making much of an effort. And I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. The only reason I say this is simply because many of us are ignorant to the truth. Many of us don't believe and think it's all government propaganda. Although, considering that this is something that is gaining traction all over the world, maybe it's not just rumor, myth, and nonsense. Okay. So I know I've taken a bit of your time already, but before I come to a conclusion, I got a couple of questions to ask about the whole thing altogether. So what can we do about it? That one I won't go into too much detail about, but also check out another episode I did on a UK startup that wants to refreeze the Arctic, and they've got a pretty ingenious idea about it. So from my point of view, my opinion, my best educated guess, let's say, can we do something about it? I think we possibly could. The amount of effort involved could be massive. But the pyramids was no small feat, and they did it. Right now we have the technology to put every major civilization in history to shame. So can we do it? I think we can. Like I said, check out that episode on the UK startup that wants to refreeze the Arctic. They've got a good idea. So even if, let's say, that doesn't happen, how could we prepare for it? Like Ireland's minister said, no idea is too small or too extreme. They're thinking about this on a serious level. The future generations of the Ireland nation. And I love the fact that they can go full steam ahead and charge towards this. You don't see many governments taking up this kind or this type of initiative towards this. I mean, the UK recently cancelled its climate change budget. I mean, who would have thunk it? But that's an entirely different episode. So I'll save that for another time. But considering that they estimated that sea levels could rise between 1 meter, 20 inches, all of this, honestly, even with the simulations, as far as I'm concerned, is their best guess. I'm not saying that the film The Day After Tomorrow got it more accurately, but we have already seen extreme weather, snowfall in certain parts of the country. America is no stranger to this. And even Canada had an extreme -degree temperature not too long ago. Once again, all of these things pointing towards not good future. But obviously, in many places around the world who are already experiencing the effects of climate change, they are building seawalls. Now, seawalls are nothing new. People build seawalls, or countries, governments, towns, coastal cities build seawalls for many reasons: to protect the coastlines, to prevent erosion, to protect lagoons in many cases, or to create what you call not natural, but to create harbors or unnatural harbors. Either way, there are things we can do about it. I mean, prediction that it's only going to be 1 meter means, okay, yeah, you could build meter high walls. I mean, somewhere in the UK, I believe I came across an amazing story as well. Somewhere along the coast, they've got an entire flood barrier built. I think it's either it too might be it's not 1 meter. It might be 4 meters tall, and it's completely made out of glass. Honestly, don't get me wrong, I would really love to be there when it floods. I would love to be on the other side of that wall and see the sea. 4 meters high, you would literally be staring into the ocean. Yes, it would be churned into muddy nothingness, but imagine what you could see. You could possibly see a shark swimming by. There was actually a case of a shark in a river somewhere in the UK not too long ago as well. So, me saying it sounds far-fetched, but hey, 1 in a million chances happen all the time. But like I said, what could we do to prepare for it? The UK is giving us a pretty interesting idea. Now, the reason I turn to that one is because I'm not sure how thick those glass walls are, but for, deep water habitats, you have glass that can be at least 20 inches thick as well, just to prevent or to protect against the pressure difference. So let's say drastic scale and water levels rise way more than even a meter, way more than even the 4 meters. I mean, just to make it look really, really nice, you could have the same glass walls, 20 inches thick, could provide a decent window in certain areas. I am not saying you should do the entire wall in glass. Obviously, that would probably get rid of all the sand. If you didn't know, it's the quartz, silica turned to glass. But a 20-inch thick window in some of these flood walls or sea barriers would be nice. I mean, just having our cities or coastlines completely walled for good reason would be really nice to protect the civilization, but everyone likes a good view. So that would be one. But what would we do when it happens? They say that this could go on for decades. As always, many countries never take this seriously, so no one might prepare as vigorously right now as they should. So they might save it for when the time comes, and when the time comes, it might be too late. And the reason I say that is because sea levels would have already risen. They might have already lost decent swathes of their coastline, and even certain areas where their coast is mountainous. That much sea level rise could actually lead to landslides, the loss of even more dry land. I mean, The Day After Tomorrow paints it in one way, but what about Waterworld? Ever seen that film? But anyway, I digress. But I got a really interesting question still, and I know I'm going on for a while, but how could it help us? I mean, Earth's temperatures has risen to insane levels. Snowfalls, snowstorms, blizzards, droughts, flooding, rainfall. I mean, no one knows if we can put down earthquakes and volcanoes in the mix. We don't entirely know how in sync our world works, but the latter of the two have increased frequency, severity, and I don't know, just downright scariness, I suppose. There was a story about a mother and baby who were lifted out of their house by a tornado, and miraculously this woman lost her baby in that tornado, and that baby was alive. They found it, screaming his lungs off, but he was alive, only a few cuts and bruises. Something like this, if it does happen, could increase temperatures, could lower temperatures, It could increase the amount of snow cover in the Atlantic or the Arctic and the North Pole and the South Pole, which, if you didn't know, will also increase how much of the sun's rays is reflected back into space, which will mean that the temperature of the planet stops rising. That could be a small benefit, but once again, the speed at which this change could occur is something that they say we may or may not be able to adapt to. And the reason I say this is because the planet has gone through many ice ages and we are still here. Not saying that we could not survive and we could not adapt as speedily as it happened. I'm saying only a few of us remained in those periods. So given that the next one could occur, we could be able to save much, much more of us. In people in those Arctic regions already, what could they do to prepare for it, vice versa? I know it sounds crazy, but snowfall will increase. The severity of snowstorms might increase as well. But things get covered in snow pretty easily, don't they? Yes, the weight of the snow tends to make things collapse, but scientists or NASA or space scientists tend to use a lot of their wit, or should I say inventions or ingenuity, in space back here on Earth. Looking towards colonizing Mars and the moon, and I know this sounds completely off topic, is going to require domes, some form of habitats. Somewhere in, I can't remember where, but just search the tent or a giant tent and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. It's in a completely icy region and they have managed to turn it into a tropical paradise. You really should check it out. I'm going to do an episode on it soon too as well. But in those Arctic regions, as crazy as this sounds, you may want to simply start building large domes over large swathes or large parts of many cities, or dome off or section many of the cities. And that would be one way to preserve them, instead of them getting snowed under and buried. I know it sounds like a completely ludicrous and out there idea, but hey, the world is changing. We already know how this could hurt us, but I'm still gonna ask, how could it hurt us? It can hurt us in many ways by the fact that huge numbers of the population may and may not survive. It will not be as dramatic as the movies, but people will lose their lives. There will be large regions that may become uninhabitable. And I say that for the fact that many large cities already have problems with water, sewage systems, drainage, being able to deal or cope with natural disasters. And they have all been geared towards certain specific disasters that happen within their regions, which are dictated by how the weather patterns and climate, keyword climate, affect each one of their regions. If AMOC suddenly stops and the Gulf Stream disappears and these fluctuations happen, all of these cities will not be able to deal with what comes next, because what comes next is going to be completely opposite to what they have had to deal with. So where countries that always had to deal with too much water will have to deal with with not enough. With countries that had too little, they are going to be inundated, as the articles said, with too much. But like I said, and I always say, our Earth is amazing. Not just the places, not just the people, but what we are constantly doing with it. What we are constantly discovering about it. It's amazing, isn't it? Once again, thanks for joining me for another episode of Focus. And I appreciate every moment of your time. And as I always say, have an absolutely fantastically great day. And if you haven't had one, there's still enough time to turn it around and make it happen. Take care. For links to the articles, check out the episode description. If you want to leave a comment, check out the trailer description for the email address. For topics like these and more, check out future episodes. Like I said, the world is an amazing place. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we just need to take a moment to focus.